We're on to our next panel. We're on time, which I'm surprised, right on time. You know these two. You see them on air quite a bit at NBC News and Weather Nation. And Meredith is constantly on Twitter. I'm so jealous of her Twitter. So I'm going to jump off here and let them get right into it. So here we go.
Well, we're really excited to be here. And it's fun because we're from both sides of the country. So we have Kathryn from the New York area. Is that fair to say?
That's right. Yep.
And then I'm based out of Denver with Weather Nation. So I've worked with Brett and Eric. And so what we're going to do with our panel is give you a little bit of a background about us, our careers, kind of how we tie into this panel. And if you have any questions at all, we left a lot of time for Q&A because we know when you're talking about broadcast meteorology, there's a lot of things that go into it. So leave us the questions and we'll hopefully be able to get through them all. Should I start, Kathryn?
Yeah, go for it. Meredith is going to kick us off. We figured we'd each talk about 15 minutes, and we're in TV, so we set timers. You know, that's kind of eternity for us, right, Meredith? You know, we're used to like a minute 30, yet alone 15 minutes.
Right.
We're going to cap it there because we really want to have just a casual discussion and kind of tag team with questions. So yeah, kick us off, Meredith, and then I'll try hard to follow your lead.
Sounds good. Well, I think I haven't done the share screen yet, so Eric, you might need to help me with that. So I think I did it. Let's see if this works for it. So can you guys all see that? Kathryn, can you see my slideshow?
I can see
it. Looks great.
Oh, good. Hold on one second. I just need to hit play. I haven't done one of these in a while, so bear with me. All right. Well, let's start off, and it's so nice to meet everybody. My name is Meredith Garofalo, and as Eric mentioned, I am a meteorologist for Weather Nation TV, National Weather Network, that's based in Denver, Colorado. I have a Bachelor of Science in Meteorology, as well as minors in television and radio broadcasting. And I encourage everybody here to reach out. You can see my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are at Garofalo Weather. And then my email is mgarofalo327@yahoo.com in case you have any specific questions afterwards. But we'll jump right into it. Kathryn and I are really excited because we're not your typical broadcast meteorologists. We have so many other things that come with the role of being a broadcast meteorologist, including being a public figure. So my passion for weather started when I was 3 years old. My mother survived the super outbreak of 1974, which was April 3rd and 4th, which some of you might remember, or maybe you have friends or family members or yourself either chased or were in the area. But this was a time when warnings were not anything like they were today. In fact, my mother even told me there wasn't a siren. The way she knew the tornado was coming in was she looked across the street. She saw the tornado forming in the house across the street above it, swirling. Hail started breaking the windows. They ran down into the basement. And in Midwestern homes, this was in Xenia, Ohio, they looked out the window, and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about this because I remember this like every single day since I was 3. And they could look out the window and just see the V, the typical cone, but it never came to a point because this was back then the F5 tornado that wiped out Xenia, Ohio. And ever since that story, when I was 3, I just got very excited about weather, about storm chasing. In fact, when I was even in high school, I used to drive around in my Camry in Cleveland, Ohio, which, as we know, is not even Tornado Alley or close. But anytime there was severe weather, I would be out and about, and I would be looking up into the sky for storms. And then, when it got really, really bad, I ran in my basement because, you're a kid, you're afraid of weather, especially when it's a tornado and you've only seen the NOVA videos and you've only read about them in books, which is exactly what I did growing up. Was I studied as much as I could about tornadoes. And I actually, nowadays, we use, as you can see, Facebook Live to do updates. And I used a Fisher-Price tape recorder, which some of you in my older generation probably remember, had my cassette tape, made my first weather forecast. And I warned people to go in the toilet and close the lid because, at age 3, 4, 5, that seemed a safe thing to do, which now I know is not. But that's how I got my official, yearning and excitement for the passion of weather. And so I ended up continuing to study it in school. I'm also a musician, I'm a singer and actor. And so performing was always something that for me was fun. And so I combined my passion for singing and being in the public as well as weather and broadcast meteorology. And I went to Valparaiso University and I graduated with a Bachelor of Science and a minor in television and radio broadcasting. And then I had to jump into the TV realm. And I was very fortunate, even with my terrible resume tape, which I hope never resurfaces from college because it was awful. But I was able to get my first job a few weeks out of college in television. And I've been working in television now for more than a decade. But as you can see on my slide here, I go a lot further than just your typical meteorologist, because I think a lot of times nowadays, there's people that are in studio all the time and that's their main focus. And that's a fantastic way to go. But for me, I wanted a little bit more. And so as you can see, in addition to being a meteorologist, I went and got my certification from the American Meteorological Society. So I passed the test to be deemed a certified broadcast meteorologist. That's why you might see that AMS seal or CBM next to my name. And so I went that next level. I also do some storm chasing, as you can see there. That was me chasing my first hailstorm here in Colorado. It was golf ball size hail and it was terrifying, but I watched it from a bank parking lot under the little roof there, and it was quite the thrill. But I have a huge passion for storytelling, and so I'm also a science and, as you can see, a space journalist. I've covered launches for the GOES weather satellites. I've also done in-depth reporting on science and space stories, and so I've been kind of all over the map, with my weather, with my science, with my space. And then a lot of my time also, when I'm not on the air doing broadcasts, I do a lot of school talks. Well, before COVID, now I do a lot of them virtually, but also, as you can see here, I have Girl Scouts come into the studio since I was a Girl Scout myself. And I try really to help with the STEM education, and especially with women. And I think that's why we're really excited to do this panel today, because when I graduated from college back in 2008, there were not a lot of women going into meteorology. We had a few, and a lot of them went to the behind the scenes, the National Weather Service, working for the military, for the government. But I was the only female broadcaster that graduated from my graduating class back in 2008. And so it's so exciting now just to see how many women are getting into the field and getting excited about science and STEM and meteorology especially. And so that's why I'm a huge advocate for STEM education, but also for women in STEM, because it's a field that I have seen grow over the last decade, but I know that there's a lot more that we can do. There's so many little girls out there that watch the weather or that see a picture on social media and they get really excited about weather. And so as a broadcast meteorologist, I'm a leader in the community. I have a responsibility. It's a privilege to be on television, but it's also a responsibility for me to set a positive example and to go out in the communities and talk to the girls especially and give them the inspiration they need. Because as a young scientist, when I was growing up, it was tough. Kids made fun of me. I was very excited about it. And some of you watching might have little girls or even little boys that are made fun of because they're just so passionate about the weather, and that was me. And so now to be more of a mentor, to be more in that leadership role and to talk to these kids and say, hey, you know what? I wanted to be a meteorologist when I was younger than you. And now you have the opportunity to go out and to get into this career field and to be a leader and to get all geeky about science and take it whatever direction you want to. I think that's something I enjoy doing. And I dedicate a lot of my time off the air, because with WeatherNation, I work 4 days a week, 10-hour shifts. I'm right now the evening and primetime meteorologist from Sunday to Wednesday. And so a lot of times on my off days is when I'm doing these school talks or community outreach, because if we're not setting the role models, if we're not being the role models and the positive inspiration to these kids, they're not going to know what goes into it. Because being a female especially is a very, very tough job still. We get feedback from the public all the time, judging us by the way we look, by the way we speak, by the way we do everything, because being in the public eye is not easy. And being a woman, you are judged by your hair color, your weight, your body type. If you say something the wrong way, people are going to reach out. And I think a lot of times they don't think we hear them. And yes, men get feedback too, but women, especially in the broadcast meteorology field, unfortunately, sometimes all people look at is our looks. And I think that's very hard because there are so many women out there that have done the math, that have the bachelor's, that have the master's, that even have the doctorates. And we work just as hard as our male counterparts in this business. And so I think one of the messages, and I'm sure Kathryn will reiterate this, is we really want to get across to people that we're not weather girls. I mean, you know, sometimes our close friends will make that joke or nickname, but we are meteorologists, and we are proud to talk about our degrees that we got and use our science to tell the weather story and to tell people at home what's going on and how to keep you safe. And so I think that's something we want to encourage people to keep in mind, whether it's Kathryn and myself or any female meteorologist that's on television. There's a lot that we have to do when we get up in the morning, and a lot of it has to do with our presentation, with how we look. We put effort into that, but we don't want you to judge us based on that. We want you to listen to what we have to say. We want to convey to you messages on how the weather is going to impact you. And a lot of times it's good weather, but then a lot of times it's bad weather. And I think the final part before we go over to Kathryn, I want to talk about is the role that storm chasing and storm chasers play interacting with us as meteorologists and broadcast meteorologists, because these guys are literally the eyes and ears. And I can tell you, Brett, Eric, Brandon, I've worked with all of them. There's a bunch of other ones I can list, but the live storm network that we work with, Live Storms Media, I can't tell you how many times I've been on the air with these guys, and you know, they're helping us tell the story of what's happening in these communities. They're making it a reality, because I think a lot of times we're on the air, and until we get you that video or that picture, you don't know how bad the situation is. And so we have to work in tandem with them, and we have to tell the best story that we can to save lives. And it's an emotional thing too. I know Brett was talking about the mental aspect of it. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on the air with Brett or with Eric or any of the other guys in the field that I get choked up, and I have to have that camera on, and I have to take what I'm seeing on camera, and I have to clear the mechanism and tell a concise weather update, no matter how bad it is. And whether it's a hurricane, whether it's a tornado, whether it's flooding, it takes a lot out of me. And the thing is with broadcast meteorologists is we have to be on camera for long periods of time. When there's breaking weather, sometimes that commercial break, that 2 minutes, you have to go, get a good cry out, and then come back on the air stronger than ever to be somebody that people can look to for advice, for comfort, for information that's going to help them, or maybe a family member in a community that was impacted. And so I appreciate everything that the storm chasing community does. I love to do storm chasing myself, but when I'm on the air, when I'm in studio, I'm relying on these men and women to get us the information so we can get the videos and pictures out there and warn people of what's coming. Because I can tell you the best story on the radar. I can show you the radar images. I can analyze it, use my science background, and tell you what's going to happen. But I think for a lot of people, they have to see that tornado on the ground or see the damage from the storm system that's going to impact them the next day to really take it seriously. Because as we know, weather is unpredictable. I will be honest, I've botched forecasts. They're not the easiest sometimes. And sometimes it's one little thing that can just change a whole forecast. And so having that visual from the storm chasers and using that and working together to save lives, it's extremely important. And so I would love to see more women out there. I've actually met a bunch of amazing women via Twitter that are getting into the storm chasing field. And so I look forward to seeing that grow as much as I enjoy seeing the broadcast meteorology field grow of females out there that are leaders, that are chiefs. I mean, we have so many great women right now across the country that are in the chief meteorologist or the head meteorologist roles. And they are working so hard to set the bar even higher for women in these career fields and in the science of meteorology and storm chasing. And so I work with some amazing women at WeatherNation. I've met some amazing women across the entire broadcast community, including Kathryn, which I'm really excited for you to hear her story as well. But I think the big reason I chose to do this when Eric asked me is I want to be real. I want to be honest. I want to answer those questions, and I want to tell the story how it is, because yes, it is still a struggle for women in meteorology, and I think it is going to take some time. But I really hope that through speaking and through being open and honest, that eventually this nation, this world will come together and understand we are all the same, male, female. It doesn't matter what race or ethnicity or background we are. We are all one in this community coming together. And as women in this community, we want to come together and we want to give you the best forecast we can. We want to save lives. We want to help those little girls and boys grow up to be whatever they want to be, but also be somebody they can look up for, just like we had amazing mentors and we had amazing women that motivated us to get into the field that we are at today. And so I'm very thankful and excited to be here. I look forward to all of your questions. And now I would love to turn things over. Let me exit out of mine. Stop share. I think that's it. I want to turn it over to the lovely Kathryn, and she's going to share a little bit about her story too.
All right. Well, thank you, Meredith. It's a tough act to follow, but I just heard your alarm. I said the same thing. When we hear mine go off, well, now I'm just going to stop talking.
You got this, girl.
I know, I got it. So I'll share my screen, and you're going to learn that Meredith and I, we have a lot in common. And I'll be honest, I just learned a lot that we have in common just now. Can everybody see my screen before I get going?
Yes.
All right, let's get that into slideshow mode here. All right, still looking good, right?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I guess I'll just start with Meredith. You and I have a very similar genesis story. I was born in Dayton, Ohio, lived there until I was 10 years old. So the 1974 super outbreak is a huge part of history there, because everyone I knew, all of my teachers, had a story from that day. And every year, April 3rd, we had a full assembly. It was the whole day was dedicated to the history of the 1974 super outbreak. So I grew up with that. That is what gave me my interest in weather. Now, couple that with when I was 6 years old. So again, Meredith, youngster, right? And I know a lot of people here today have that aha moment, right? When you were young or even a little bit older, that made you go, oh my gosh, I want to study weather. I want to follow the weather. That was me too. Dayton, Ohio, I was running outside with friends, actually running home because, a bad storm was coming. And I remember the sky being green at 6 years old. I knew that was bad. Of course, I didn't know why. And all of a sudden, a pea green funnel cloud screamed right overhead, right over the street. So, thankfully it wasn't a tornado. It would have taken out a bunch of 6-year-olds. But it stopped me in my tracks. And I said, jaw to the floor, I want to do that. I didn't know what that meant. But ever since I was 6, the journey was, I want to be a meteorologist. How am I going to make that happen? So Meredith, very similar, that kind of childhood story there. So fast forward, went to Virginia Tech. So go Hokies. I know I've got some of my Hokies here watching today. And when I got there, there was not a meteorology program. Okay, so here I am at a university with no meteorology program, but I've already decided I'm going to be a meteorologist. What do I do? And so I was that squeaky wheel that kept speaking up. And eventually the geography department added a meteorology major while I was there. I was involved in with each class that became available, I took it. I helped interview the faculty that would come in. And a huge part of that was with my mentor, Dave Carroll. Now, in mentioning my first mentor, Dave, while our talk is very much about, women in meteorology and women empowerment, I want to be very clear that my first mentors in weather were all men. and they were all fantastic. And I would not trade them for anything. And with me, you know, being in my origin story of becoming a meteorologist, they had a huge hand in, you know, what type of meteorologist I would become. So I had Dave Carroll, Virginia Tech. I volunteered all through college and graduate school at the National Weather Service in Blacksburg, Virginia. While there was only one female meteorologist in the office, Anita Silverman. But otherwise, Robert Stonefield, Steve Caton, they were my big mentors at the National Weather Service who made me who I am today. So, you know, as I kind of go through my story, and you'll see my little icons at the bottom to make sure I don't forget anything, I'm going to talk about the balance of male, female that I've encountered in everywhere that I've been. So, you know, I already mentioned National Weather Service, male dominated, but they were amazing. Then I went on to write for the Washington Post Capital Weather Gang. So I'm sure a lot of you read their articles. Great, you know, they're run by Jason Same now. When I joined in 2012, I was the only female, okay? And, you know, a bunch of men writing weather articles. Again, they were all fantastic. They were not the problem. The audience was the problem. The fact that I was the only woman writing for this blog made me a target. So as if meteorologists aren't already a target, we've all heard the joke, oh, you can be, you know, wrong 50% of the time and still get paid. Magnitudes higher for a woman if you're writing a forecast or if you're giving a forecast in Meredith's, you know, experience. So I remember one day forecast, we had a wedge, right? So of course it stayed a lot colder than I had forecasted that morning. And, you know, the comments were just like, I should be arrested. Okay, like I should go to jail. It's like crazy, you know, sometimes when you see these types of comments. And I remember one comment in particular, some person hiding behind an anonymous username. Okay, I can be pretty blunt. So anonymous username here. So at least give me your real name if you're going to insult me. And he said that Kathryn Prociv, you know, she's a woman. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's a Wiccan with a crystal ball, and that's how she makes her forecasts. To which I responded kindly, thank you for your comment. If you're going to insult someone, at least get your facts straight. Gypsies use crystal balls, not witches. Okay, so, you know, that kind of got, first of all, the person doesn't respond. They normally don't. I know, don't engage the trolls, but I did. It made me feel better. But, you know, the moral of the story there is I haven't seen comments like that, you know, to other people, at least not on the Capital Weather Gang. So we've already established National Weather Service male dominated, Capital Weather Gang male dominated. Now I get into broadcast. So the Weather Channel, NBC News, suddenly it was a lot more balanced. Because if you think about it in broadcast, think of anchor pairs. More often than not, it's male, female. So suddenly I had a lot more women around me, and it was almost new to me, okay, you know, because here I was surrounded by men and fantastic male mentors, and now I had Stephanie Abrams, I had Maria LaRosa, I had Jen Carfagno, all of these very established, well-known female meteorologists, and that was very, very cool. Same thing, you know, going to NBC, more balanced, because you've got the male-female anchor pair. I've got Al Roker, I've got Dylan Dreyer. So I work with both in tandem. It's very much 50-50, and I enjoy it very much. Now, another place, again, we're going through my journey here, and then I'm going to save storm chasing for last, because at the end of the day, that's what we really want to talk about, or at least what I really want to talk about. Then I went for my CCM. So you heard Meredith mention that she has her CBM. So these are certifications and seals that you can get through the American Meteorological Society. Now, I am predominantly behind the scenes as a producer, so I'm not as on air as Meredith is. So I went ahead and got my CCM, which stands for Certified Consulting Meteorologist. And come to find out, you know, it's a rigorous process. I passed that there are less than 250 CCMs in the world, and less than 10% of those are women. And that even blew my mind. You know, we have the stats. We know the National Weather Service is predominantly male. We know meteorology as a whole, but for less than 10% of a certain certification worldwide to, you know, where women hold that certification, you know, like Meredith said, we need to encourage more. We got to get that number up because now is the time. Now, with that said, as we talk about the shift in the balance, the last stop kind of that I'll end with my trajectory here is starting my own company, Monarch Weather Consulting, and that's the picture all the way on the right. And what do you see there? All women in that photo. So we are a women-owned company, and that's Ashley Ballard and Crystal Egger. A lot of you, I'm sure, follow them on Twitter. If you don't already, do it. They are incredible women. They are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I would not be where I am today without them. And so in shifting the balance here, went from National Weather Service, Capital Weather Gang, predominantly male, to a little bit of the variety in the broadcast sector, to all female. So whether that shift has happened naturally, I also made it happen for myself, and kind of seeing that evolution, if you will. Now, where I think I've seen, and as I do a time check here, now where I think I've seen the biggest seismic shift in kind of the balance between male female is in storm chasing. So storm chasing is my passion. A lot of you, I already in reading the comments, I recognize a lot of your names, from storm chasing. I follow you on Twitter. We've all been out there together. When I started in 2010, and I've chased nearly every year since, I was chasing with the Virginia Tech Hokies. We had a storm chase field course. It was the best thing I've ever done. And my vehicle was nicknamed the Man Van plus Kathryn. So if that's any kind of indication of how unbalanced, pretty much the entire trip was men. And I had two other ladies with me and this big storm chase field course. Now, through the years, I've met more women out there. I've seen more women. Meredith already mentioned that we all started following each other on Twitter just a couple weeks ago. So if you all are watching, let's keep that up. But 2010 went from Man Van plus Kathryn to 2016, I had an all-female van. And so in just 6 years, you saw that balance shift incredibly, at least with my team, from male to female. And I know Peter Forrester is watching. He's another Hokie. That trip at one point, if I was the man van plus Kathryn, that year was the woman van plus Peter. And he did just fine, handling all the ladies in that van. But that perhaps has been what has been the most exciting, is watching this transformation, even just on the storm chase side of things. Because, you think about it, and all you guys who storm chase, it's different for a woman out there. Let's just say it like it is, okay? From bathroom breaks, we can't do that on the side of the road, all right? To safety, safety issues, where we decide to stay, where or when we decide to stop. I do not sleep in my car. I have a rule, I do not sleep in my car because it's not safe for me, all of 5 feet tall, to sleep in my car at night, out in the plains. So, it just goes back to the extra challenges, extra exposure we face as women, extra criticism that we face as women, but it's worth it. Okay, it's worth it. It makes us stronger, it makes us more experienced, and it makes us able to help those who are coming behind us, right, Meredith? I mean, I know we've got a lot of young women watching today. I am constantly mentoring young women and encouraging them and, be fearless, stand up to anyone who thinks you're not good enough, because at the end of the day, we all want to do what we love. And everyone here loves weather. We love storm chasing, and we're in it together, whether the message is to save lives or to learn more. So that's kind of the message that I want to leave us with today, between me and Meredith, with very similar experiences, being a woman in a male-dominated career, but that balance is shifting for good. And we just hope that continues. So anyway, what do you think, Meredith? You want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And so I was just scrolling through as well with the chat. So chat is different than questions. Go into the question and answer session so we can actually get all of your questions, because all your shout outs and hellos and everything are great. I really do quickly want to add to what you were saying, Kathryn, about people that are naysayers, because I had a professor in college where I have my degree now, but I struggled with the math and science. And I think a lot of people really have a hard time with the calculus, the physics. It's not easy. And I had a professor tell me, and a female professor say, I don't know, I think you should rethink your career. I don't think you have what it takes to get your degree. And so unfortunately, it's moments like that at the time is awful, motivate us to move forward. But I think it's a good reminder, I'm sure Kathryn can agree, it is going to be a tough degree if you're not a good test taker, for example, and there's going to be those kind of challenges. But if you really are passionate about weather, your kid is very passionate. There are so many great mentors, tutors. I mean, I went to one of my physics professor, Professor Stanis.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Meredith, or is it me who's frozen?
By the way, we're really excited. So I think I'll just read the question and then let's see here. So the first one I think is for you, Kathryn. How did you get to start with the Weather Channel when you were younger?
Oh, I love this question, and I probably should have addressed it, but I'm so glad that you brought it up, so thank you. Long story short, I wasn't qualified at all, and I want this to be a good lesson for anyone who is interested in anything to go for it, because you never know, where you're going to land or what's going to happen. So obviously I was qualified in the Weather Channel hires meteorologists, and I was a meteorologist. So when I say not qualified, I don't mean like totally out of the blue here. But I had never been in a TV studio. I had maybe been in WDBJ in Roanoke one time, but I really had no ambition to be in TV. I thought I was going to stay in academia. I loved researching. I loved, all these different things. So when I graduated from grad school, I was in the job hunt, and it wasn't going well. I'm sure everybody here can attest to that. And I saw the job posting on the NWA job board that, hey, weather producer. And I was like, haha, wouldn't that be funny? I've been watching the Weather Channel my whole life, and it's in Atlanta. I was in the DC area at the time, but I went for it, because I loved the Weather Channel, and why not? And expecting to not hear back. And I don't know if it was a month or two later, and I had given up. I got a call, and they said, your resume is completely different from anything we've ever hired before, so we want to give you a shot. And they said that they would hire me for, freelance at a very low rate. And they asked me to move to Atlanta and start in 2 weeks. Given that information, they said, we're hiring you freelance because you have no experience in TV, and this way we can get rid of you if you don't catch on. Thankfully, I did catch on, at least well enough to stay there. But great question. Again, you see something you're interested in, go for it.
Amen. And I think that goes good into this next question from Alicia, who is a student in meteorology. She wants to know, I think this kind of goes along with what we were talking about, advice to succeed in getting the degree. She's currently attending OU, and it's tough. I mean, just like I was saying, I was awful at calculus. Oh God. I mean, that was like making my GPA struggle, the calculus, the physics. I mean, I love the science, but as I mentioned, I was always more of the communications, the broadcaster, the performer. So I was doing good in all my communication classes, but getting the math and science was tough. But I think my biggest advice is don't give up. It's going to be hard. A lot of us that have our degrees now went through the same stress, tears, emotions that you did. It's okay to fail. You're going to, but just don't give up. Get a tutor, get mentors of the upperclassmen. They've all been through it, so they're there to help you get through the degree.
That's right. And I'll add one other thing of that's the hardest part of getting the meteorology degree, right, Meredith? And I still do. So another thing, absolutely don't give up. Like, never give up on anything because you'll only regret it. But find something in weather that keeps your interest. So for example, when I was struggling in differential equations, that I was still volunteering at the National Weather Service at the time, which I loved, so right when I'd be like, I hate this, I'm going to give up, I would go to the Weather Service, enjoy my time there, and say, this is why. Okay, you have to power through so you can do what you love, because I loved it. So that's, something you can try as well.
And for me on the broadcasting side, I was near Chicago. I was watching Tom Skilling, all the local channels.
Yeah.
I had a weathercasting class, and then I ended up getting an internship in television my senior year. And, I'm sure you can agree, Kathryn, it's all worth it when you walk across that stage and they say, you are a meteorologist. It's all worth it.
That's right. Yep. Agree totally.
Let's get to some more questions and keep them coming. This is fun for us.
Yes.
In the Great Plains, we have a weather event known as wildfires. I think that's a chaser question, so I'll probably leave that for Eric in a bit. Okay, this is one I'm sure we both can answer. Being journalists, have we ever been caught in a weather situation that put us in immediate danger?
And is this while we were working or while we were not working?
I think it just says, as a journalist, has anything ever put us in, I guess, the most dangerous situation we've ever been in?
Well, the most dangerous, I guess I'll go first here. Most dangerous situation I've been in was storm chasing. Obviously, I was out, and I believe the year was 2011, and we were near O'Neill, Nebraska, if I have the year and the location right. And it was, if you storm chasing, you get it through experience, okay? You anticipate the right moving supercells always. You have your multiple escape routes. But in this case, it made a hard right turn, and we were not giving the storm enough space, for lack of a better way of putting it. So we chased the tornado, and it was a messy tornado. It was rain wrapped. At times you couldn't even see it. And all of a sudden, our vans are starting to get hit, with some mud and debris here. So, hung a U-turn and started speeding south on the road. And it was a close call, but I guess that tornado decided to play tag with us, and we got out of there. And you learn from experience, but that was my most dangerous moment.
Yeah, mine was very similar. I was out actually chasing here in Colorado with one of my WeatherNation colleagues, and we were intercepting the tornado. We were right there, but it was rain wrapped as well. And as you know, when you can't see it, you can't see the movement. I mean, all you have is the radar. And so we actually parked south about 2 or 3 miles away. So we were getting the winds, we were getting the rain, but we knew we had to stop there, because I think as a chaser, it's so important. Like Brett said, you have to know when you're not in a safe place, and you can't take those risks, because you could end up hurting yourself. You could lose your life, or everyone could lose their life in the car. It's not worth it to get that shot. So that's a great question. Let's see, Kelsey White, what would you both say? It's the little girls wanting to enter in this field, which we were.
Yes, we were. You go first, Meredith.
I think no matter what your hair looks like, because I was a little girl with Coke bottle glasses and curly hair, I look different than all my classmates. No matter what you look like, what you love, what your life is like growing up, if you are excited about weather, if you are reading a book and it just gets you so passionate about it, or you're watching the TV and you want to be somebody that's going to be up there forecasting the weather, or you see video of a chaser out in the field and she's out there and she's giving a live report, if you want to do it, never ever give up that dream. And I know we say that about a lot of things, but it's so easy to have that outside influence say, we can't do that, or a father figure or mother that's like, no, I don't want you to go in that danger. If you're really that passionate about something, just keep on it. Reach out to people like Kathryn and myself and all the other great storm chasers or people that you follow, and ask them for advice, and ask them to give you that little bit of motivation, because it's in steps. It starts off as a child, and then it's going to go through school. And if you keep passionately pursuing it, it's your career. You've got it in your sight.
Yes, and I will echo all of that. And for me, just like you, Meredith, ugly duckling over here. Anyway, here's 2 women, right? You don't really hear guys talk about how.
Amen, sister.
In middle school, so we're already, like falling into that bucket. But I had bangs, I had braces, I had a bob cut. Oh my God, I think
we would have been best friends.
Actually, I needed you. Like we needed each other, okay? Because I didn't find my people until college, when I was in the math, the science, geography, and ultimately meteorology. So it's that whole thing of, and I was bullied. So I was bullied all through high school, okay, until I got to college.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So it comes with the territory, and I'm not saying that's okay. The words "thank you" will be your biggest weapon, because you're ugly, thank you. So someone's literally gonna be like, what? I wasn't expecting her to say that. You're a geek, thank you. You're a nerd, thank you. You take all those bricks that were thrown at you and you build a pedestal for yourself, girlfriend. And that's the best you can do. And reach out to me and Meredith, because I know I'm a hype woman. Crystal and Ashley, who are watching, my business partners, they'll tell you I'm their biggest hype women. I'll be a cheerleader for you. So yeah, don't give up.
Absolutely. And I think we have to be cheerleaders for each other, for other women. And, Kathryn and I can be honest, there are going to be women out there that are only going to be in it for themselves. They're not going to want to reach out. And that's okay. There's always going to be those people. But what you have to find is the real people, the people that when they say, hey, I'm here to help you, they're going to help you even if they end up getting that job down the road that you wanted. Because the older you get in this business, I think we really realize that. And it took me a while to get here, but if the job's not meant for you, it's not going to be meant for you. You can't force something, and you can't hate another woman or another person that gets the job overview, because then it brings in a whole bunch of negativity. And I think, and especially a profession like ours, that's very, very taxing at times, you have to stay positive, but you have to surround yourself with the people in this business that are going to build you up and not tear you down or try to take your job.
That's right.
So those great questions. Oh, we have a broadcast meteorologist, Kaylee Wendt from Buffalo, New York. Hi, Kaylee. Her degrees in meteorology hasn't been feeling challenged as she's been doing this for about 7 years. Any recommendations on what to do to get involved outside of work that will thrust my career forward, but also be fun and interesting? That's a great question.
Ooh, I have a lot of ideas. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first, because actually this is something I've started to do. I've been in for about, since 2008, but I have learned through my journalism, not every broadcast meteorologist loves reporting, but I have found that it's a very passionate thing of mine. I'm a very passionate storyteller. And so I've looked into other fields of science that go with the Station Scientists Initiative, which I'm actually the chair this year of the American Meteorological Society Station Scientists Committee. So it's something now that I'm doing outside of my typical broadcasting that's getting me involved in all the other different types of science. And I'm talking to people like earthquake experts now. And I'm sure, as you saw, I'm really jumping into becoming a space journalist, and I'm getting some incredible opportunities to tell these science and weather stories as a journalist, but also through my scientific background. And so I found that by looking at other avenues of being a station scientist, like space weather forecasting and space initiatives, the return of the shuttle program and the missions to Mars, I found a new passion that I'm excited about. But because I embraced it, now I'm doing a lot of podcasts and international conferences, actually, because I was able to find something outside of just being on air every day that makes you passionate. So explore yourself, explore all the different avenues of science, and, ask people, well, what is it that light me up? What stories do I hear that I get excited about, and pursue it?
Yes. Yeah. You basically took the answer out of perfect. But yes, find something else. I've never only done one thing at a time. Given my day job career, whether it was Weather Channel or at NBC. While I was at the Weather Channel, I wrote for the Capitol Weather Gang. And that was a different type of communication. It was written. And I was always writing about something new or different that I wasn't covering on the Weather Channel, and making new connections that way. And then, of course, now with having the weather company with my partner, Crystal Egger, who she gets the credit for having the courage to even start her own company, yet alone bring me on as a partner. So we could get into that level of courage, which is above and beyond. But there, you want to talk about, I never know what's going to come across my desk each day, constantly learning, the problems that people need solved and potential clients. And it's just find something that, is outside of your normal day job. And I mean, completely different. Like what Meredith said, studying space weather or other types of science, you never know what you'll discover. But I would definitely suggest, do something outside of your day job.
We have some individual questions. So this one is first for you from Jessica Moore. She wants to know advice you have from someone wanting to break into the entrepreneurial side of meteorology. She's currently doing an internship with a meteorology consulting firm and wanting to work toward her CCM. So what was the process like for you?
Wow. Okay. So you'll want to email me maybe on the side, because I would love to mentor you even through the whole CCM process. I'm also on the board of directors for the CCM, so I can really help you out, if you really want to go that route. So please let me know. That process, I kind of just mentioned it. I don't get the credit for coming up with this. It's all my partner, Crystal Egger, a meteorologist. She was at the Weather Channel, then she went back home to California. So, a client came to her and said, hey, I need a meteorologist on my team. Do you want to be a part of it? She said, yes, brought me on to support. And we said, hey, this is kind of fun. we loved working together. And we saw the need, especially with all the latest with the climate change, being the buzzword and the story of the generation. Everybody now needs weather and climate insights. So we saw the need. It was like, hey, I like you. Let's work together. And just kind of kicked it off from there. So I would suggest, if you want to find a partner, find someone that you get along with great, have the same ideals, because the highs and lows in entrepreneurship are real. And and Ashley and I, all we do is we send each other, encouraging memes, jokes, funny things, all the women on here and guys, feel free to follow at Boss Babes on Instagram. It will get all of you out of bed in the morning. So you got to go into it with an open mind, have courage, find people to support you, and then have at it. And getting your CCM is a great start. So yeah, email me.
Awesome. And then for me, she wants to know, how often am I able to get out of the studio and chase? She hopes we can chase together sometime. Jessica, we'll connect after this. Same thing. Let's talk about that. I mean, I have 3 days off a week, so typically those are the days that I would go and chase. So not as often, I think, as I would like, but I'm hoping down the road for more opportunities. But yeah, let's definitely talk about that. That'd be some fun. So get some females out in Colorado. All right, who are your TV Met mentors in the Dayton market, if you don't mind me asking? Noah asked that question.
Now, for me, I was still really, really young for the most part when I was living in Dayton. Now, the funny thing is, it turns out, and talk about worlds colliding, while I was a kiddo there and not paying attention to local news, because I was always watching the Weather Channel, so I was watching kind of that sphere, Mike Bettis was a local meteorologist in the area. And so when I've asked my parents, do you remember Mike? Do you remember watching him? They say yes, which is really, really fun. So anyway, sorry, I don't have a better answer for you, but I was a little too young then to remember anybody.
I will admit, as a child, I mean, even though I work for WeatherNation, which is a competitor of the Weather Channel, WeatherNation wasn't around back when I was a kid. So I also watched Weather Channel, and I just like the national news aspect because you were learning about different parts of the country and different weather. And for me, I was actually from Cleveland, so I watched the the late Dick Goddard, who was a legend there, and all those local Mets. So these are some really good questions. I think, yeah, we're still on time. Eric, if you need us to stop at all, just let us know. But let's see here.
And by the way, with Meredith mentioning, she's at WeatherNation and I'm, former Weather Channel. We are technically enemies, but we decided that we could, yeah, frenemies. That's right.
Well, I think that's a good point too. In this field, you're going to have competitors, whether it's local markets or national markets. But I think just going back to what I said earlier, we can't hate on each other. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to like me better, or they're going to like Kathryn better. And that's not our choice. But
No.
We support each other and we're all in this together. I think, we can really make a difference, because at the end of the day, we just have to be ourselves and we have to be who we are. And that's what's going to define us in this business. That's for sure.
Meredith and we had a great phone conversation, while we were coming up with our plan for this talk, and we were talking Weather Channel, WeatherNation. I remember while I was at Weather Channel, it was that time frame, if any of you remember, DirecTV dropped Weather Channel and put WeatherNation in the channel slot. So of course, everyone at the Weather Channel is lighting their hair on fire and they're so upset. And it was like, oh my God, you can't even mention WeatherNation in this building because they're our enemy. And meanwhile, I'm friends with people at WeatherNation, and I'm thinking this is silly, because meteorologist, that was leadership, not meteorologists. But yes, meteorologists, we're all nerds at the end of the day. We were still talking, we stick together. It wasn't, any kind of enemy situation for us, at least. We all have the same mission to communicate weather and save lives. But it's an interesting conundrum.
It's fun though, because we support each other. I know
Yeah.
Leanna Brackett, Jen, Stephanie, we're all friends on social media, and some of them I've never met in person, but I feel like I know them now just because we're building each other up. We're liking each other's stuff. We're being a team of women and a team of meteorologists, because like I said, at the end of the day, hey, we got to live our best lives, and why be mean and evil to other people when we can support each other in our own individual goals? Because at the end of the day, they're all going to be different.
That's right.
So some good questions coming in about the degree. Is a bachelor's degree enough of a job? Do you need additional certifications? I think we kind of talked about that. I think it's a great basis to get your Bachelor of Science. I know there are some certification programs and programs to not get your Bachelor of Science, but I'm really glad I did. And I put myself through math and science because that will help you at the lowest. But if you want to go for your master's or for your doctorate or any of these certifications, I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yes, agreed. You know, if you're already on your way to getting your bachelor's in science, you'll never regret having that ever.
And another question coming in about they can't afford out-of-state tuition, don't want to go through another 4 years of college. They don't have a meteorology program at the college. You know, there's some really good ways you can still get involved, even if you don't have a degree. The American Meteorological Society has something called WeatherSTEM. And I think that's great. It's newer, but for people who are really excited and passionate about weather, that's a great way to get connected to the weather community. And, you know, there's a lot of, I think, other programs you could find online that are for a bachelor's in meteorology or close to that. I really can't speak a lot on that, Kathryn. I haven't looked at those.
No, I mean, I'll just add another way, and you know, not knowing the full situation, there's always the option of using, you know, kind of a community college or something to get the electives out of the way and then move on to somewhere that might have a meteorology degree. Because a lot of those classes don't happen, you know, until, you know, upperclassmen and onward. So that could be another option. Or perhaps this could be a case where certification might be for you. Yeah, but I mean, as you've heard here, if you want to be a meteorologist, you know, carve your own path and you can make it happen some way or another.
Absolutely. Recommend, let's see here. As a Joshua, as a journalist major, recently graduated college, what advice do you have for being an on-air meteorologist?
Oh, this one's all you, Meredith.
You know, I think my best advice is you have to go into this field knowing that when you start, you're going to get paid peanuts. We all did. So if you look at your first salary offer and you're like, ew, I can make more of this, you know, I can make more money working for Walgreens or flipping burgers, you know, it's okay. All of us on-air broadcasters had a start where we got paid pretty much nothing. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. You have to work your way up. And even then, you know, there's some times where you might not get that salary that you want. But I think at the end of the day, if you're passionate, if you want to be a broadcast meteorologist, it's, you know, it's not going to be easy at times by any means. And people that'll go out there and tell you their stories and say, oh, everything was handed to me, blah, blah, blah. There's stuff they're not telling you. And I will be the first one to admit that I didn't have an easy path. I got let go from a couple stations within my television career, and it scared me and made me want to give up. But my late mentor, Rich Apuzzo, who unfortunately died of brain cancer, he was a chief met in Cincinnati, Ohio, told me, you know what though? Nowadays you're nobody in this business unless you get let go from at least one job. But you know, had I not left those stations, and it was just two, and one I wasn't even there that long, it just didn't work out. I got an amazing job a few months later, and I was much happier in the market I was at. And so you just have to be open to moving around. And I mean, gosh, I think they said like the average person moves like 10 times in their life, and I've already crossed over that by a lot. So just don't be afraid to be open to moving. Understand you might not make the best salary in the world, but if it's something that makes you happy, like I get up every single morning and I love my job. And I go to bed every single night and I love my job because I'm making a difference in somebody's life. So, yeah. There's Eric. I think our time is up.
No. I was saying, so all our videos and pictures for the contest, which is preceding you guys, have come in, and we don't have as many as we thought. So we want you guys to keep going. I will interrupt whenever I think it's that time. So by all means, keep going. We've compiled everything. So we're good on time. You guys actually have about another 15 minutes or a little more, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Send in those pictures.
Great. Yeah, exactly.
You know, Kathryn, this is a good one for both of us. Would you guys recommend going into meteorology if you just like to storm chase?
Oh, let me think about that. You know what? I thought I only wanted to storm chase. So this is, as I'm thinking through your question and realizing where I went, because, growing up, obviously 1974 outbreak spurred my interest. That funnel cloud when I was 6 years old solidified it. But for the longest time, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree, especially when you're little, you only have kind of two ideas about what meteorologists do. They're on camera or they storm chase. And so I always knew that I wanted to do the storm chasing bit. My first pop culture icon, again, hello, bullied in school. Like I didn't really care about Britney Spears or like Christina Aguilera. Helen Hunt, her character in Twister was my first pop culture like idol, right? So I really was different. Okay. So I guess I always thought that, going into meteorology meant storm chasing, or at least that's how I was going to be a storm chaser. And then once I started taking classes, that's when your eyes are opened. Because obviously you learn about broadcasts and you know about storm chasing, but you learn about academic research, private weather consulting, which is what my company is doing, teaching. I taught for a semester and I loved it. Weather service. So it's like, it almost like the more you're in it, the more you're learning, the more opportunities you see. And as I've mentioned, I also storm chase. It doesn't pay the bills, and that's okay. I use my own PTO. I go out for a week, every year, but I still do it, but I do other things in weather now.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. I mean, for me being a broadcaster, I was kind of backwards. I didn't get into storm chasing until I was, into my broadcasting career, but having my degree and knowing how to analyze the radar and what to look for in certain things, I use that when I'm in the field. And that helps me time out and figure out when to intercept the storm and all that. And so I think what you said was fantastic. This next question, though, I think you're going to love this. Hi, guys. Parker wants to know, how do we as male meteorologists and storm chasers support women in STEM? I want it to actually count. How do we go further supporting you guys?
Wow, that is, I don't think anyone has ever asked me that. I don't know. So thank you so much for your, transparency and boldness in asking that. I don't know if I have a quick answer. For me, a lot of times it's been, for lack of a better way of putting it, we would prefer some backup. It's a lot of the times when even that Capital Weather Gang example, I don't remember anyone coming to my defense, and not that I expected anyone to. I'm not upset no one did, but as I think about it, a lot of guys, like to stick with the guy mentality. And again, I have an older brother. He was in a fraternity. I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form. It's just, you've got bro mode, and then you've got like the, the girls clique. It's just how we roll. But I don't know, a little more backup. I don't want to say watch what you say. I've been lucky and I haven't had a lot of, any types of negative, things said out loud. I'll get certain questions where I know can't remember the comment, but this was months ago. Someone said something and I actually just genuinely asked him, I wasn't angry. I said, would you ask me that if I was a man? And he like 100% answered right away, no, I wouldn't. And I'm sorry. So it's kind of having an open mind, backing us up if you see something happening, which is a loaded question because you're going to have the women who are like, I could have handled that myself. I know sometimes it's a lose-lose, but not a clear answer as I think about it more, but just thank you for offering and saying that.
Everything she said, I think, and especially being an on-camera personality, if you're somebody in a broadcasting station, backing them up, you hear something or someone says something, not being afraid to say, hey, yes, she's pregnant, but that's not your business. I feel so many of our colleagues, are criticized when they're pregnant, when that's one of the most biggest joys of their life. And even if they're not, you don't need to ask them. When they're ready to tell you, they'll tell you. And I'm saying this, I've never been pregnant, but I'm saying this on behalf of all my girlfriends in this business who have anchors, meteorologists. Just don't ask that. It's something that we'll share with the public when we're ready to share with the public, because we already share our lives with you being broadcasters. But I think also, when you see that I had a coworker of mine saw that I was speaking and and he shared it with all of his followers. So proud and so exciting. I think little things like that, showing that, hey, we're really proud of them. You know, we're proud of women for putting themselves out there and doing this. You know, and it's not an all girls, all guys thing. I think just supporting us as we've been supporting them all these years. Let's see here. How can broadcast meteorologists partner with or better assist chasers? Do chasers listen to broadcasts and forecasts? Are they like little islands on their own with individual forecasts? Is that good or bad? I don't know if Brett's still on here. He's probably not, but I mean, sure, Eric can testify too, because I've worked with Eric. I think we work in tandem. They know how to forecast, a lot of them. They're out in the field. But it feels good when they talk to us and ask us, you know, hey, for example, Brandon Clement, who chases with us, texted me the other day and said, hey, what are your thoughts on this? You used to work in California with the flash flooding potential. And just to have that and be able to give my expertise to help out, I think, and Kathryn, I'm sure you could agree, we work in tandem together. We have to help each other out.
Yes, I have even a really great example of on-camera and broadcast meteorologists helping me and my team out in the field. Because when you're out there, everyone who's been storm chasing, you lose data a lot, you lose internet connection, there's, you know, and you may be flying blind. Now, depending on the situation and experience, a lot of us can get by, right? Using our eyes and ears like we're taught. But sometimes if it's a very volatile situation and a lot's happening and you can't see radar, you can't see anything, it's a little scary. So I've actually called friends who are broadcast meteorologists who I know are working, not even in the plains. I'm talking, I've called people in Virginia to say, hey, can you help me out here? I need, what does radar look like? Can you explain it to me? Can you tell me what's going on? Any new warning? You know, when you lose everything, you lose everything. So, you know, any new warnings, anything, please be my eyes, be my ears. And they are every single time. So that's where, when you say teamwork, there it is.
Exactly. And I think some people also are asking about our colleges that we went to, our specific colleges. What was that program like? So now we get to give our alma maters a shout out.
You want me to go?
You can go first.
All right, so Virginia Tech Hokies through and through, got my undergrad and grad degrees there. And as I meant, so Ashley, my partner in the business, she's a Hokie. I know Peter's watching Hokie. Pretty sure my Storm Chase partner, Seth Price, is watching, also a Hokie. So this is going to be a different answer from me because I mentioned, you know, the program did not exist when I got there. And so I was taking geography courses in the meantime, as like nickel and dime, these classes were becoming available and I was taking them. So it was in the very, very origin phase at Virginia Tech while I was taking it. And my master's degree is in geography because, you know, if the meteorology degree wasn't quite ready yet on the undergrad level, then there definitely wasn't a graduate degree. But what I did with the help of my mentors there was in the master's degree, even though it was all geography based courses, you have to, for thesis, you have to solve a problem, right? Because you have to write about it. So I looked at tornadoes in the Appalachian Mountains and how the terrain impacts the strength of those storms. So I used geography to solve a weather problem. So that was kind of what it was like for me.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it because although you and I are so alike, we have such almost sometimes little opposites with stories to come around full circle to the question, which is great. For me, Valparaiso University, they had a meteorology program, but since then, I mean, now they've got, I mean, they had a storm chasing team when I was there, but they have a fantastic storm chasing team, which kind of got me excited into the storm chasing side. The broadcasting studio, they have their own television station now. They have so many great internships. They've had so many great on-air Valpo grads come back and actually teach the broadcasting course. And they even have a women in STEM group now, which I'm like, you girls go, because I wish they would have had that back in the day. But yeah, I'm real proud to be a Valpo grad. And I think no matter where you go to school, I think the most important thing, and it was between, for me, Penn State and Valparaiso University. And I just went with what felt me. And I walked out of that campus at Valpo and I loved it. So I think when you're looking for a meteorology school too, you want to find somewhere that, what would you say, Kathryn? Just, it feels like home, right?
Oh yeah, because if you're not happy where you are, even just physically, then that's going to hurt your even just mental capacity for an already challenging career, so, and a degree program. So yeah, make sure you're happy where you are first, whether it be location, friends, wherever, close family or not. And then, yep, go for it.
I know you have another event to go to. Are you still good for a few more questions or?
Yeah, I'll hang in here.
Cool. All right. Well, we got this is another great question. And I think it kind of goes off us being women in STEM careers. How do we think we can grow other minorities in storm chasing, such as African Americans and the LGBTQ plus community? That's a great question.
Oh, I love that question. I guess the kind of thing we've been preaching this whole time is support. Support any and all who want to do it. Okay, so like, come to me. I'll have you come on my team. We're very much hodgepodge Frankenstein crew. Like, anyone who's interested, you want to come, please come. So it's having that open mind, supporting people, and helping them execute their dream. You know, if that's what they want to do, let's help them do it.
Amen. I couldn't agree with you more on that. Just like I said earlier, I think with one of the questions you asked, it's like, it doesn't matter what race you are, anything. We are all in this together. We all have the same passion together. I mean, you think about a basketball team for all of our sports enthusiasts out there. Every single one of those women or men on those teams, they come together as a team. It doesn't matter what their quarterback looks like, or if we're in basketball, they're I don't know why I can't think of it. I'm exhausted. They're forward. There we go. Because I played basketball. You know, we're all on the same team, and
That's
we're
right.
all here today for the same reason. And it doesn't matter what your background is, who you are, where you came from. At the end of the day, people are always going to remember how you made them feel and the difference
That's
you made
right.
in their life. So let's support each other. Let's encourage. And I think going back to the job field, if somebody gets a job over you, or somebody's video gets taken on a network over yours, it's nothing personal. You know,
No.
You got to work your best, and you know, somebody's going to get a job you want, and then you're going to get a job somebody else wants someday. But if we have love and support instead of hate, it's going to be a much better business moving forward.
That's right. We're going to have a lot more fun too. Okay. So put that hate aside, put it away.
Amen. No hate. Lots of love here from
Yeah. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Exactly. Let's see here. What opportunities? We got a high school student in here. They are passionate
Great.
about meteorology. I think you and I are going to love this question.
I think so.
I guess I'll take this one first.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
You know, as a nerdy high school student who was very excited about the weather, and people called her a dork and a nerd and all those horrible, things, which come on guys, don't hate on your other classmates. I know it's high school, but we can be better than that. But don't let anybody tell you that you being different or you feeling different is not okay, because it is. You have to be yourself at the end of the day, and not everybody's going to like you, and not everybody's going to support your dream. And for me, people actually wrote in my high school yearbook jokingly, "I'll see you on the Weather Channel," or "Haha, see you on TV someday."
And you said,
now
yeah,
I'm actually
I will.
doing that.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. So you said, yes, you will. Thank you.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
people reach out to us now. I mean, I'm sure you've got a similar story. I hear from people from high school that made fun of me that are like, mad respect. And so at
Yeah.
the time, it may not seem like it's okay. And at times you're going to be probably sad and maybe a little depressed and going through a tough time. But where you're at when you get to this point where Kathryn and I are at, you don't want to have those memories, but they help strengthen you to become the person you're going to be eventually.
That's right. And I'll just add to that, find your people if you can, because who cares if you don't have 20 friends, who are all fake at the end of the day. Find your one person. Meredith and I already decided we could have used each other.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I had my little group in high school. It was like 4 or 5 of us, and we still keep in touch today. I was not in the popular group. I didn't care to be in the popular group. We already established that I was not, really like into the way that I looked at the time with bangs and braces and just, I don't know. I was focused on other things like doing well in my classes so I could succeed in college, and I found friends who were of that same mindset. And these were the same friends who, when I would say, oh, wow, look at the pretty clouds outside today, they wouldn't make fun of me. They would say, yeah, you know what, Kathryn, thanks for making me look up, or tell me about the cloud. And I would do the same thing for them. I had one friend, she ended up going to Virginia Tech for engineering. And at the end of the day, she just wanted to be like a bakery chef, and she wanted to bake cakes and cookies. And so I supported her in that. So find your people, they're out there.
Yes, and your teachers, I think too. I know there's always people make fun of you, oh, teacher's pet. I was called a teacher's pet, but you know what? Some of my teachers, my professors, they gave me that life-changing information and the motivation when the people that were making fun of me didn't. And so really reach out, Conrad, to your teachers, to your counselors, because they're there to help. And down the road, I mean, their advice at some point is going to come into play in your life. So find your people, embrace your teachers and tutors, and just stay focused. And I think this goes into our next question about how social media has changed with us in our fields over the last decade.
For starters, and Meredith, you kind of mentioned this a little bit and everything you've been saying, it makes it easier for us to be targets. So, everyone's on social media, and I already mentioned the hiding behind anonymous, names and hashtags or whatever. So, I would say at first it was like, whoa, these people have instant, like unfiltered access to us. This is not good. Obviously now I don't care. I just block. But, it has transformed though, because now Twitter is my favorite form of social media because of the information sharing. I mean, you got to make sure you follow the right people. Okay. That's probably its own can of worms. But I mean, this is where Meredith and I believe, where you and I got to know each other and started talking. We started following each other on Twitter. So the knowledge shared, the relationships made using Twitter, now I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I agree. I love Twitter too. I love and I hate Twitter, because I hate Twitter when I wake up in the morning and I got a zillion notifications and then I have to scroll through, because I personally love to say hello to everyone. So if you follow us on Twitter, we might take a little bit of time, but we'll try to get back to everybody. But I think as good as it helps, it can also hurt. And unfortunately, I'm sure, Kathryn, you've seen this. There are some people in our field that like to call the trolls out. And I feel like every now and then it's okay, but if you keep calling the trolls out and putting these people back out there, you're just doing the same thing.
You just give them attention. You might give them followers, which at the end of the day, if that's what you care about, go find a hobby. So yeah, I just block them. I don't even engage. I don't have time. And like you said, Meredith, it's not worth it. Don't give them the stage. Don't give them the stage.
And don't use your platform. If you're a chaser, for example, on Twitter, don't use your platform to promote somebody that doesn't deserve to be promoted, because they're looking for you to do that, right? They're looking for you to quote tweet or give them a shout out, but then you're really actually giving them the followers, and then they can hurt other people or start trolling other people. So like you said, block them. Sometimes I just kill them with kindness. Like someone was like one time after a trip, oh, you look fat today. I'm like, thanks.
Yes.
Had a good meal last night. No skin and bones for me today.
No, but you're right, Meredith. And I meant to even use that phrase when I gave that kind of comment example with the gypsy and crystal ball, accusation, whatever. I kill them with kindness and knowledge. At the end of the day, I don't lose sleep over any trolls. I probably would if I was nasty to them. It's just not my nature. So block them, kill them with kindness, or just ignore them.
Absolutely. And, just don't let it go to heart. I think this is good advice for young broadcasters or people that are just getting into the broadcasting field. At some time in your career, somebody's going to say something really mean and nasty and horrible to you publicly, but you can't let that take away from all of the positive feedback you get, because for every one email or one tweet that's mean about you, there's probably 10 to 15 that are going to be positive. And yes, that one is going to hurt. And there have been times I take a step back and I oh, why would you say that about me? It's not true. But then you have to kind of, again, maybe talk to a girlfriend or a friend or one of your coworkers and say, can you believe what this person said? Then you're not doing it publicly. You're getting it out of your system and you can move on.
As I like to say, and I think, Meredith, we could probably have some fun times like this. You get a comment like that and you say, ooh, that would be good, to share with my girlfriends over a glass of wine.
Yes.
Don't be that person that we're, talking about over a glass of wine. So there's your motivation right there.
Yes. I like that. That's a really good one. So you and I might have to virtually do that.
That's right.
Let's see. I think we have time for a few more questions. Let's see. I think some similar ones we already talked about. Staying motivated. Oh, a community college student just joined what we were just talking about, and just ways to keep motivated with just that one class that, and I think this is a huge topic. So I'm cool going back if you are about that, because I think there is going to be that one class that just, that could like make or break your degree.
Oh, yes. And, I have plenty of friends and we are all going through this class together, and it's okay to fail. I know a lot of us, guilty, type A, right? You want to succeed in everything you do, and we're not all perfect. And, again, I can attest to that. So don't be afraid to fail. First of all, you'll have people there to support you and help you. And if you have to retake the class, retake the class, because don't let it stop you from doing what you ultimately want to do. I have a fun phrase, nothing lasts forever. And I only use that when something like bad is happening, or when I'm not like happy or enjoying what I'm doing. So, think like, okay, this class isn't going to last forever. College isn't going to last forever. Always think ahead. Don't think, what if I don't do this? I'm going to go backwards. No. Always think forwards. So, okay, you fail a class. You have to take it again. That is this much of your life, right? That this great life ahead of you if you do succeed.
And hey, somebody put it in the comments, and you should have put it in the question, but they said C's get degrees. I mean, C's shouldn't be your goal, but coming from somebody where my C's did help me get my degree, it's okay to fail. It's okay to have struggles, and it's okay to tell your teacher, I will do whatever it takes to pass your class. Help me. Because a good teacher will say, I will get you a tutor. I will give you pointers. And, if you keep, I'll even help you with a grade curve, because I know you are going to try, because those professors are out there and they want you to succeed. Yeah, they want you to pass their tests too. But if you're trying your best and giving it your hardest and you don't give up, you're never, ever going to fail internally.
Hear, hear.
Let's see. I see Eric. I guess he'll say when we need to stop talking, because as broadcasters, you guys, we could probably talk all day.
Oh yeah, we ad-lib for a living.
Yeah, we're actually okay. I really appreciate it. Jordan's out with medical, and so you guys going over has really been appreciative. You don't have to stop. My goal was to be at about 11. So can you guys go about 10 more minutes?
I can do it if you can do it.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hey, what was the storm chaser question? I don't even know if we see it anymore. It was a while ago.
I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find it really quick. I mean, I know there was about going in tandem with us working with you guys, and do you guys go with our forecast, or do you reach out? I mean, it'd be good, Eric, if you could give a perspective on that too. Because I mean, Brett, you've worked with us individually, sometimes you have your knowledge, but when the radar goes out, you have to count on us to help you get to that place or stay safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we have communication that's not over the phone, but we're live on with you, and I have a live situation. I really depend, with you guys. We love the banner. I love working with you because we can banner, and I can ask you those things like, the storm motion's kind of slowed down. Did it speed up? And it helps me know how quick or how long I need to be on air, because, I need to get it back to you guys and get down the road. Or say, like with me and hurricanes, we lose power, we lose cell service, but I have that online connection with you guys. When I say online, through the camera, we have an audio feed and IFB a lot of times where I can talk to you guys. And it tells me, oh, you've got 135 mile an hour winds coming at you. Or, hey, like I was in St. Thomas and I was on with David quite a bit. He's our our main severe guy at WeatherNation, and he was telling me what was coming, even though I didn't have power, which was great because my radar I was using on my laptop wouldn't work, my laptop died, and things like that where safety comes in. I really depend on our meteorologist of telling me what's going on. Visually, 90% of what I do is visually, but there's a lot of times like I'll bounce stuff off of Brett and our Mets there at WeatherNation because maybe there's two targets, maybe they're seeing something I'm not. You get experienced chasers who like, oh yeah, this looks good meteorological over here, but it's not good chase terrain. But what's the bigger story? Is there a bigger town over there? And that's stuff that I like working with you on is where's the story, especially with the type of chasing I do. As far as where I want to give a shout out to Steve McCauley. I don't know if you guys know him. He started out in Amarillo, Lubbock, and then Amarillo, where I grew up. He was really an inspiration, on-air meteorologist. He went to WFAA out of Dallas. That guy, he was an inspiration to me coming up and learning and teaching. He was actually teaching as he was doing the forecast, and I listened to our forecasters and Meredith, you're one of the best that you're telling people what they expect and why to expect it, which goes a long ways.
You make me blush.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, sorry. Anyways, but Steve, he's now teaching. He's now teaching at SMU in Dallas, and it's somebody that I look up forward to, and I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking about. That's why it was important to me because there's so many, like I have two little girls and my 7-year-old talks about weather constantly. Reminds me of me when I was 7 years old. I didn't watch news.
Yes.
I didn't watch news. I watched the weather. And so I'm thinking of my daughters coming up and who out there can be a great role model. Somebody that I'm really good friends with, Jessica Moore. I'm so glad she got her degree this year. And I know she really looks up to you, Meredith, as well. We actually talked about that. So I'm appreciative for you guys being role models and not just in the meteorological field, but storm chasers of doing things correctly and getting that message out.
Well, I think Kathryn, especially you being a female that's in broadcasting and doing a lot of storm chasing, I think a lot of women are looking up to you as well. And I just had another question come in about, what was her favorite time being out in the field? Because I know you have quite the experience being out there as well.
Oh, wow. My favorite time being out in the field has nothing to do with the storms. I was catching the end of Brett's talk before this, and, he mentioned that when you're storm chasing, it's 90% driving and 10% storms. Okay. So most of your memories, we'll all remember Dodge City and we'll all remember those big events, right? But it's those late night car rides of keeping each other awake. It's the late night car rides, coming up with nicknames, right? Like every vehicle ultimately gets a nickname. Every person ultimately gets a nickname. And, I've been on crews where from, the minute we left home base to the minute we got back, we were laughing in the car. And, this was also with, if we want to get back to the all female, conversation, this is with crews of all guys. I did a whole trip with Ed Grubb. I know he's here. And we still have a plan, by the way, Ed, I know you're listening, to bring our guitars out there and serenade the storms to produce.
Wait, you're a singer too?
That's it.
How did I not know this? We need to sing together.
Yeah.
How did I not know Ed plays guitar? I chased with him last year. All right. Yeah, we've got to set this up. Next year, we're going to have a musical event.
There you go. Ed, me, let's do it. We'll, write tornado songs. I don't know what we'll write about, but, it's those things. Ben McMillan was on that trip. Then I had a trip with Seth Price, my partner, and a bunch of other dudes, and we laughed until my abs hurt the whole time. So, those are my favorite memories. It's the ones with the people I'm with out on the road.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, ladies, do you guys want to give one final thought? And then we're going to go into our photo contest and video contest.
Kathryn, go ahead.
Yeah, final thought. And, Meredith has been doing a good job finding all the questions because I'm reading all your great comments here. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for giving us the time, and thank you for your open-mindedness. At the end of the day, you heard us say it probably 1,000 times. Support each other, male, female, white, black, brown, it doesn't matter. We're all meteorologists. We all love weather. So just support everyone, stick up for people who might be getting bullied or, facing adversity, and just enjoy what you do. And let's all keep in touch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, we're all in this together. And whether it's behind the scenes or being the face of a station or in the public eye, it's not going to work if we don't work in tandem, if we don't help each other, if we don't compare forecasts. And yes, there's always going to be competition. And as human beings and as someone who's a high school athlete, I still love competition. But at the end of the day, we're all in this business together. We chose to get here. We had a lot of people that helped us get to where we are today. So be a mentor. And if you're somebody that's a mentee, don't be afraid to reach out and ask the questions. And if you don't hear from one person, don't give up. Reach out to somebody else. Look up to the people. Find those people that make you smile, that make you passionate about what you do. Because at the end of the day, we all have our own lives to live. But when we support each other and when we're there for each other, whether it's a message on Twitter of hey, or a text message of let's have coffee virtually in the world we live in right now. Let's build each other up. Let's make this world a better place, because it starts with us today being here together in the summit.
We certainly, appreciate it. And we look forward to next year. I have a feeling that I would love to do something with you two again next year, and get to that point where, this is an annual event where we involve women in every way possible every year.